The rebuild of the Bugatti Chiron was already being called one of the wildest car projects ever seen on YouTube, but now the entire journey has taken another dramatic turn. After months of impossible repairs, custom-made parts, sleepless nights, and non-stop pressure, Matt Armstrong and his team discovered something that nobody wanted to find. A single sensor inside the Chiron had been installed incorrectly during reassembly, and fixing that one mistake will require the entire hypercar to be split apart again. For most people, this would sound unbelievable. The car had already driven under its own power. The rebuild was finally moving in the right direction. Fans around the world believed the hardest part was over. But on a machine as advanced and complicated as a Bugatti Chiron, even the smallest issue can become a massive problem. That is exactly what happened here. The mistake was not caused by Bugatti. It was not caused by a failed part. Matt openly admitted it happened during the rebuild process itself. Somewhere during the difficult job of putting the car back together, a sensor became trapped in the wrong position. Instead of sitting correctly, it ended up twisted at the wrong angle. At first, some viewers may think this is not a big deal. After all, the car was driving fine. The engine worked. The gearbox worked. The cooling system worked. Everything looked successful from the outside. But modern hypercars do not work like old-school machines. Cars like the Chiron depend on sensors for almost every important system. These sensors constantly send information to the car's computer. If one sensor sends bad information, it can create problems across multiple systems at the same time. A small issue today can turn into a major failure later. That is why Matt refused to ignore it. He could have hidden the problem and moved forward. Most people would never notice. The viewers would still celebrate the rebuild. The headlines would still say the impossible Bugatti was fixed. But Matt's team chose a harder path because they wanted the car to be truly correct, not just good enough. That decision says a lot about the standards behind this project. The rebuild stopped being just a repair a long time ago. It became a battle to prove that independent builders could do work that giant manufacturers claimed was impossible outside their official network. From the beginning, Bugatti representatives made it sound like the car could never be repaired properly without factory support. They warned about special tools, hidden systems, and complex procedures that only a few places in the world supposedly understood. That only made the challenge bigger. Instead of giving up, Matt and his team pushed forward anyway. They fabricated damaged parts from scratch. They researched hidden part numbers. They studied systems that almost nobody outside Bugatti had seen before. They slowly turned a wrecked hypercar back into a running machine. Every success shocked viewers because it kept proving the experts wrong. That is why this new mistake feels so important. It is not just about a sensor. It is about whether the team is willing to tear apart weeks of completed work just to fix one detail properly. That kind of discipline is rare in the automotive world. Many people rush projects to finish faster, especially when cameras are involved and millions of viewers are waiting for updates. But Matt decided to slow everything down and correct the issue before moving forward. That choice made the rebuild feel even more real and even more impressive. Instead of pretending everything was perfect, the team admitted the mistake publicly and explained why it mattered. In many ways, that honesty made the audience trust the project even more. The Chiron rebuild has always been about more than just fixing a car. It has become a story about patience, pressure, pride, and refusing to accept limits. Now, with the entire car needing to come apart again over a single hidden sensor, the project has entered another difficult chapter that may become one of the most memorable moments of the entire build. When the team first discovered the problem during inspection, the mood inside the workshop changed immediately. Only a short time earlier, everyone had been celebrating the fact that the Chiron finally moved under its own power. That moment felt huge because the rebuild had already survived so many impossible obstacles. The car had been destroyed badly before the project even started. Many people believed it would never drive again. Even experienced professionals doubted the rebuild from the beginning. Yet somehow, through determination and constant problem-solving, Matt's team reached the point where the Chiron was finally alive again. Naturally, excitement filled the workshop after the successful drive. But experienced builders know something important. After a major milestone, every system still needs careful inspection. A car can look perfect during a short drive and still hide problems underneath. That is why the team began checking everything closely after the test drive ended. At first, the inspection brought great news. The custom-made radiators worked correctly without leaks. The repaired gearbox bracket held strong under real stress. The cooling systems performed well. The rebuilt drivetrain functioned correctly. Every successful result gave more proof that independent builders really could repair a Chiron outside Bugatti's official facilities. That alone was already historic for automotive fans. Then came the bad discovery. Somewhere deep inside the car, a sensor had become trapped in the wrong position during assembly. Instead of sitting naturally, it was twisted at an angle that could eventually create major electronic issues. Nobody could say for sure whether the sensor itself was damaged yet. Maybe it still worked perfectly. Maybe internal damage had already started. That uncertainty made the situation even worse, because there was no safe way to ignore the issue and hope for the best. On normal cars, replacing or adjusting a sensor might take a few minutes. On a Bugatti Chiron, things are completely different. The car is built in an extremely complicated way, with systems layered tightly together inside the structure. The sensor was buried so deeply inside the car that the only way to reach it properly was to separate major sections of the Chiron again. That meant disconnecting electrical systems, removing structural panels, and carefully splitting the car apart. For viewers who do not understand the scale of this job, imagine finishing a giant puzzle after months of work, only to discover one hidden piece underneath everything else. The only solution would be taking huge sections apart again. That is basically what happened here. The emotional side of this moment was probably even harder than the mechanical side. After so much progress, nobody wanted to undo completed work. Every mechanic understands that painful feeling. You spend weeks carefully building something, finally reach success, then suddenly discover one mistake that forces you backward again. It can destroy motivation if a team is not mentally strong. Yet Matt handled the situation calmly and honestly. Instead of blaming suppliers or making excuses, he admitted the mistake happened during assembly. That honesty matters because it shows confidence and professionalism. Many creators online only show victories because they want projects to appear perfect. Matt did the opposite. He showed the problem publicly and explained why fixing it properly mattered more than protecting pride. That transparency made the rebuild feel genuine. It also reminded viewers how unbelievably difficult this project really is. Splitting a Chiron apart is not like removing a bumper or changing a wheel. This is one of the most advanced cars ever built. The engineering is so complicated that Bugatti itself claimed only a few facilities worldwide could perform some of these procedures correctly. Yet here was an independent workshop in the UK preparing to do it again. The discovery of the sensor problem turned what looked like a completed success story into another intense challenge. But strangely, it also strengthened the meaning of the project. Instead of showing weakness, the mistake showed how serious the team really was about getting everything right. One reason this rebuild became so fascinating to millions of viewers is because the Bugatti Chiron represents a level of engineering that most people never get to see closely. The Chiron is not just another expensive supercar. It is one of the most advanced road cars ever created. The car was designed to combine incredible speed with luxury, stability, and technology. Every system inside the Chiron was engineered with extreme precision. That is why even a single misplaced sensor becomes such a serious problem. Modern hypercars are controlled by computers almost constantly. The engine, gearbox, suspension, cooling systems, traction control, braking systems, and safety features all communicate with each other through electronic signals. Sensors are like the nervous system of the vehicle. They monitor temperatures, pressures, movement, airflow, wheel speed, and countless other details. The information travels instantly to computers that make adjustments while the car is driving. If one sensor sends incorrect data, the computers may react incorrectly as well. That can create strained behavior that only appears during certain conditions. Maybe the gearbox shifts poorly when the engine gets hot. Maybe the traction system reacts incorrectly during hard acceleration. Maybe warning lights appear randomly. Problems like these can become extremely difficult to diagnose later because they do not always happen consistently. That is why the sensor issue could not simply be ignored. Some viewers online question why the team cared so much if the Chiron already drove successfully. But experienced engineers understand that fixing problems early is always smarter than waiting for bigger failures later. Matt's decision to stop and repair the issue properly probably prevented serious headaches in the future. Another thing that makes this rebuild so interesting is the way it exposed the hidden reality of modern luxury car manufacturing. Throughout the project, Matt's team repeatedly discovered that many Bugatti components were actually shared with other Volkswagen Group brands. That surprised many viewers because Bugatti is often presented as completely unique and separate from normal production cars. In reality, Bugatti has been connected to the Volkswagen Group since the late 1990s. During development, engineers borrowed and adapted components from Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, and other brands inside the group. This is common across the automotive industry because sharing parts saves money and development time. However, luxury brands rarely advertise how much sharing actually happens because exclusivity is part of the image they sell. During the Chiron rebuild, Matt's team discovered airbag parts connected to Audi models and other components linked to Porsche and Volkswagen vehicles. Every discovery helped reduce repair costs dramatically because equivalent parts could sometimes be sourced through normal suppliers instead of Bugatti's expensive official channels. This became one of the most important themes of the entire project. The rebuild slowly proved that independent repair was possible if builders were willing to research carefully and think creatively. That idea challenged the belief that only manufacturers should control repairs on modern hypercars. Many viewers became emotionally invested because the project started representing something larger than one damaged Bugatti. It became a symbol of independent knowledge, fighting against corporate control. The sensor problem added another layer to that story because it highlighted how difficult the engineering really is. Critics could easily point at the mistake and say independent rebuilds are too risky. But supporters saw something different. They saw a team willing to admit mistakes and correct them properly instead of hiding flaws. That honesty gave the project credibility. The Chiron rebuild now feels less like entertainment and more like a real engineering journey with genuine risks, setbacks, and victories. Every new challenge teaches both the team and the audience more about how these cars actually work beneath the luxury branding and marketing language. The physical process of splitting the Bugatti Chiron apart again is one of the most difficult parts of this entire story. Most viewers watching the videos may not fully understand how massive this task really is. On many normal cars, mechanics can access important systems by removing smaller components one at a time. But the Chiron was engineered differently. The car is built around an advanced carbon fiber structure that connects the front and rear sections together in an extremely tight and complex design. Critical systems run through the central area, including electrical wiring, hydraulic lines, structural mounting points, cooling connections, and communication systems. Everything is packaged tightly because Bugatti designed the car for maximum performance, stability, and strength. The result is an engineering masterpiece, but also creates huge difficulties during repairs. Accessing deeply buried components often requires removing major sections of the vehicle. That is exactly why the sensor problem became such a disaster. To reach the trapped sensor safely, the team needed to disconnect the major structural sections again. This process is incredibly delicate because any mistake could damage expensive components or place dangerous stress on the chassis. The procedure begins with disconnecting electrical systems throughout the vehicle. Hundreds of connectors and wiring routes must be handled carefully to avoid damage. After that, structural panels and protective covers need removal. Hydraulic systems must also be disconnected correctly because pressure systems inside hypercars are far more complicated than on ordinary vehicles. Then comes one of the hardest parts, separating the front and rear sections while maintaining proper support and alignment. The process must happen slowly and evenly to prevent twisting forces from damaging the structure. This is why Bugatti claims only a few facilities can perform such procedures properly. Specialized knowledge, patience, and careful planning are absolutely necessary. Watching Matt's team perform this work inside an independent workshop amazed viewers because it looked more like aerospace engineering than normal car repair. Every movement required attention. Every bolt sequence mattered. One mistake could create new problems instantly. Yet despite the difficulty, the team had already successfully split the Chiron before during earlier stages of the rebuild. That previous experience became extremely valuable now because they understood the process better the second time. Even so, nobody wanted to repeat such a huge job over one small sensor. Emotionally, this situation tested the team's discipline more than almost any previous setback. Human nature always wants shortcuts after long struggles. Once the Chiron drove successfully, the temptation to leave the issue alone probably became very strong. Most people would think, the car works fine. Why risk taking everything apart again? But that mindset can destroy projects slowly over time. Small ignored issues often become larger failures later. Matt's decision to repair the problem immediately showed long-term thinking instead of short-term celebration. That mindset is one reason why audiences respect the project so much. The rebuild feels authentic because the team prioritizes proper work over quick success. There's also another important reason why this moment matters. The second split demonstrated that independent repair knowledge was growing rapidly throughout the build. The first time the Chiron came apart, everything felt uncertain and experimental. Nobody knew exactly what challenges would appear next. By the second split, the team understood the structure better. They had already mapped systems, identified parts, and developed methods for handling the car safely. In a strange way, the mistake itself became proof of progress. The team was now capable of repeating procedures that once looked impossible. That evolution changed how viewers saw the rebuild. It no longer looked like lucky experimentation. It looked like growing expertise earned through hard experience. The Chiron was teaching the builders how to understand one of the world's most advanced vehicles piece by piece. Even the setbacks became valuable lessons that improved their knowledge and confidence moving forward. Another major reason this rebuild captured so much attention online is because it exposed the hidden economics behind luxury hypercars. Before this project, many people believed Bugatti repairs required magical factory-only parts and impossible costs that ordinary builders could never handle. The Chiron itself cost millions of dollars, so naturally viewers assumed every repair would also cost unbelievable amounts of money. Bugatti's reputation helped create that image. The brand is built around exclusivity, perfection, and rarity. Owners often rely entirely on official service networks because the cars are so specialized. That makes independent repairs extremely uncommon. But Matt Armstrong's rebuild slowly started pulling back the curtain on how these cars are really constructed. One of the biggest discoveries was the amount of shared Volkswagen Group technology hidden underneath the Bugatti branding. Again and again, the team identified components connected to other vehicles from Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, and Volkswagen itself. For regular viewers, this was shocking because luxury brands often present their products as completely unique creations. In reality, modern car companies share parts constantly across different brands. Sometimes the shared components are modified slightly. Other times they are almost identical. This strategy reduces manufacturing costs and improves reliability because companies can use proven systems instead of developing EV.